to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful pants trouser with no side joining. Okay, so I'll be showing you how to do this from start to finish. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Please click the subscribe button, click the bell so you get updates when I post new videos. And now let's get right into the tutorial. So guys, I'm using stretch jersey fabric for this tutorial, and I got 2 yards of this. The length is by 70, not by 60 inches. So first of all, what I did was to fold my fabric into 2. Now this fold is my hip divided by 4 plus 7 inches. You can add 8 inches for yours just to be safe, but I did my hip divided by 4. Mine is 10.25. So if we're adding 7 inches to that, I'll be having 17.25. So that is what I have here, thereabouts. And right here is the top, where I'll be marking as the top. For me to continue with this, I'm going to be marking about 4 inches from the top. Okay, so I just mark 4 inches from the top. And the reason why I'm doing this is because of my back crotch. If you've noticed or if you've watched my trouser tutorials, you would see that my back crotch is always longer than my front crotch. This helps with sitting allowance. I don't have a flat bum. I have well, not a huge bum, but I have a bum such that if I don't do this, I may end up not, liking what I'm making or sitting really well with what I want to make. So that is why we are marking 4 inches. And we're going to see how this would turn out at the end of the day. Okay, so I just go ahead and join the points like this. I hope you guys can see this. Now this part that is folded is the part that is going to be the side area, like the side seam, but we are not cutting it. It's on fold. Nobody's going to touch this part. Okay, then this part right here is where we are going to be having the inseam leg, where the crotch is going to be. So we're going to be marking waist to hip. We're going to be marking crotch depth, and we're going to be marking our thigh, our knee, and our ankle. You may not need thigh, especially if you're doing a straight trouser. But if you want it to be fitted around your thigh, you can go ahead and do that. So guys, the full length of my trouser is 41 inches, and I'm going to be adding a band of 1.5 inches to this. So I have to subtract that 1.5 inches from 41, and that will give me 39.5. Okay, so I'm going to mark my full length from this line here all the way down like this. So that will give me 39.5. So I'll come right here, mark 39.5. So I've marked 39.5. I'm going to add 2 inches of seam allowance to this. Okay, so I'll add 2 inches of seam allowance to that. Come right here, mark 39.5 from the 4 inches. And then I'll add 2 inches of seam allowance. And then I'm going to join the points like this. Another way you can do your markings is to place, the 1.5 inch that you want to add as band right here, and then mark your full length. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? So that's what I'm going to continue to do for the rest of this part. Place 1.5 here, okay, and then be marking my measurements. So I'm going to mark my waist to hip now, and my waist to hip is 8.5. So I place 1.5 on the line that we marked here, the 4 inches that we marked from the top here. I place the 1.5 on that line, and then I'm going to mark 8.5 like this. Okay, I'll do the same thing on fold here. Place 1.5, mark 8.5. Then I'm going to mark my crotch depth, and my crotch depth is 10 inches. So I'll come right here and mark 10 inches. My thigh measurement is about 3 inches more than my 2.5 or 3 inches more than the crotch. So I'll just come right here, 3 inches. So I'll just come right here and mark the 3 inches. Okay, just like that. Now my waist to knee is 22 inches. So I place 1.5 here, and then I come right here and mark 22 inches. Now where the length of the trouser is where I'm going to be marking my ankle. So whatever I've marked here, I'll just repeat the same thing on this side, and then I join the points. So guys, this trouser is not going to have any darts because the fabric is stretchy. Okay, then I'll come here, mark my hip divided by 4. Mine is 10.25. 41 divided by 4 is 10.25. Now the same 10.25 I have here, I'm going to mark it on my crotch. right here. Then I'll be adding 3 inches for my crotch extension. Okay, now for this crotch extension, you can go by dividing your hip measurements by 8. Okay, you can go ahead and do that. Divide your hip measurement by 8. So guys, after I marked my crotch extension, I'm going to come right here now and mark my thigh round, my knee round, and my ankle round. And my thigh round is 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. Okay, so I'll come right here and mark 12.5 like this. Come right here, mark my knee round, which is 18.5. Divide that by 2, that will give you 9.25. Then I'll come right at my ankle point. I'll be marking my ankle round. So I'll be going with an ankle round of 15. So I'll just come right here and do 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5. So I'll just mark that like this. And then what we're going to need to do is to connect our inseam leg all the way down. I'm going to need my hip curve ruler just to have that curve here. This part can be straight. So just smoothing out this place, then connect from here, to this part like this. Okay. I'll come right at my waistline now. I'll be marking my hip circumference divided by 4, which is 10.25. We're not going to be going with our waist measurements. And then I'm going to be joining this part here to my hip and then to my crotch line, just like this. And then from here, I'm going to mark about 1.5 inches diagonally like this. Okay, just mark it diagonally, and then we're going to connect it to this line here like this. So can you see what I'm doing? Just connect it like this. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to come right here now. I'm going to be adding 3 inches at the top. So I'll just add 3 inches at the top like this. Then I'll come right here at my crotch extension. I'm going to add 2 inches. I marked 3 inches upwards here. I marked 2 inches extra for the back crotch extension. What we are doing now is marking the back on top of this same fabric, okay? Then I'm going to extend this crotch, this diagonal line that I have here to mark out the crotch. I'll extend it by ½ inch. So for the back, I'll be using a total of 2 inches for this diagonal line. For the front, I used 1.5. Okay, so I hope that makes sense for us. And then I just made this a straight line, so it's easy for me to recognize. And then what I'm going to do is to connect from here to this 2 inches diagonal line that I marked here. So I'll just go on to do it like this. And then I'm going to curve it out to this part here, to the crotch extension. So it is the back that we are marking now. What I'm going to do is to connect from here to my knee, like this. For this seam allowance part, from this ankle point here, I just slanted it out a bit, so that by the time we're hemming it, that part doesn't get shorter. So I hope you saw what I did here. Now what I'm going to do right now is to cut out the back, and then I'm going to be cutting it out with a ½ inch seam allowance. And what I'm going to do right now, after cutting this back, after we have cut this back, is to come right here. I'm at 3 inches up, right? So I'm going to have to cut ½ inch above this line, okay, so that we can have seam allowance for joining at the waistband. So I'm just going to cut it straight out, just straight up like this. And then once I do that, I can now go ahead and open this up like this. Okay, so it's going to look like this. Now, because we cut out the back first, it now looks like we have back crotch here and back crotch there, but we have added our seam allowance at the top here, and what we need to do is to come right here now and then cut the front part. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is to mark ½ inch above the waistline for seam allowance. Very, very important. On the waistline, I'm marking ½ inch. This front part is where I have these markings, okay? I'm going to use this part that doesn't have the markings at the back, and then I'll connect from ½ inch above this waistline that I've marked to the edge of the fabric, like this. And then I'm going to cut this out. So we can have, you know, our back crotch longer than the front. We're not going to leave it straight like that, you know. So now that we have cut the top, I'm going to now cut ½ inch following my front crotch. This is my front crotch here. This is the inseam leg here. So I'm going to cut ½ inch following the front crotch like this, and then I'm going to cut it, you know, ½ inch all the way down to meet this point here, this ½ inch here, because the knee for the front and the back are blended together. So I'm just going to cut it like this. So just keep cutting till it blends with this part. And so guys, now we have our front and back, which is going to be for just one leg. Okay, this is going to be for one leg. So what I'm going to do right now is to duplicate this pattern so we can have, you know, the second leg. I'll go ahead and place this flat like this on my fabric and then cut it out. So guys, after cutting, I'm going to go on to sew the front crotch from here all the way down, sew the back crotch from here all the way down like that with a ½ inch seam allowance. I've gone ahead to sew the crotch and this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to do is to go on to open it up like this, okay, so we can have two legs. So did you see what I did there? And then what I'm going to do is to match the crotch at the bottom here. I'm going to match it up to this other crotch like this. Then I'm going to sew the inseam leg by a ½ inch seam allowance. So I'll sew from here all the way down like this. And then I'll repeat the same thing for this other leg. So from here all the way down like this with a ½ inch seam allowance, so we can have, you know, our trouser looking like a trouser, okay? And I'm going to make sure I overlock all the raw edges. So guys, after sewing my trousers up, this is what it looks like. So I wanted to mention something, that if you try your trousers and is a little bit bigger, I would advise that you adjust it at the crotch area. You do your adjustment at your crotch area and at your inseam leg. Of course, that's the only place that you can do any adjustments. This doesn't have a side seam, okay? So what I did for the bottom of this trouser was to overlock the raw edge, and then I turned it and sewed it. Of course, I cut off 1.5 inch out of the 2-inch allowance that I created for the hem, okay? So I hope that makes sense. So guys, what's left for us is to attach the band, but I've decided to convert this into a low waist trouser. So what I'm going to do is to fold this over by 1.5 inches, okay? Then fold a ½ inch inside. So I have like a 1-inch spacing for my 1-inch band. Do you understand? So that is what I'm going to do for the top here. And I want to mention something, that this type of trouser is something that you want to use for maybe leggings or loungewear, something you wear at home and relax. If you want it a bit fitted, all you can do is to just make it, you know, a little tighter, okay? Especially if you're working with a stretchy fabric. If you are working with a non-stretchy fabric, I would advise that you use your exact measurement so you can be able to wear this. So I'm going to go on to fold this now, and then fold by ½ inch, hem the bottom. I'm going to leave a spacing of 2 inches so we can insert our elastic. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew this, and I have my 2-inch space or 1.5 inch space right around this part, okay? I have my elastic band. This elastic band is exactly my waist measurements plus seam allowance. I did that because I don't want this to be tight around my waist. Then I'll be using this very long shoelace for, you know, the adjustment, whether I want it to be very tight, whether I want it to be loose. That is why I'm using 2 of this. But if you want it to be fitted with just your elastic, you actually need to fold your elastic and then stretch and measure it to see whether it is your exact, you know, waist measurement plus seam allowance, okay? So what I'm going to do now is to get a safety pin, okay? I inserted it through the elastic on one side, and then what I'm going to do is to insert this through the hole that I created for the elastic, okay, and then I'll begin to pull the elastic through the space using the safety pin that is on the inside. Do you understand? And then I'll do this till I get right to the hole again, but on the other side. So I'm just going to continue to pull this like this. So just like this. So guys, once I get to this side, I remove the safety pin, okay? I remove the safety pin, then I'll go on to stitch this elastic by a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'll stitch it by a 1/2 inch seam allowance, then I'll place it like this and then stitch it down so that it lays kind of flat, okay? I've stitched the elastic, so what I'm going to do is to now pull the entire elastic, okay, through the fabric. So we want everything to go in like this. So make sure to pull the elastic in. And then once that is done, I'll go on to seal this part. The part that I used to insert the elastic, I'll go on to seal it up. So guys, what I'm going to do right now is to stitch on top of the elastic while, you know, stretching the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to make one stitch here and another stitch, you know, down below. I'm pulling the fabric a little bit. Okay, so that's how I'm going to. So this is how I'm going to sew, just like that. So I'm going to repeat the same thing down below here. So guys, after sewing, this is what my trouser waist looks like, okay? Then what I'm going to do right now is to come right at the front of the trouser on the right side. So on the right side now, what I'm going to do is to cut like a hole here, just a little bit, a tiny bit, okay? Did you see that? I cut a hole here. I'm going to, you know, cut another one here, okay? And then I'm going to grab my shoelace now. So you guys should please watch what I'm doing. I insert my safety pin in my shoelace. So I'm going to insert it like this. I'll begin to push my safety pin through this point here. So can you see? So that I can pull the shoelace through it, okay? So I'll continue to push it like this, okay? Continue to pull the shoelace through this space that you can see here. I just continue to push till I get to the other side. I'll just pull it out like this. And then now I can remove my safety pin. Okay, so this is basically how the waist will look like. I need to pull more of this shoelace in so that it can be even on this side. Okay guys, so this is what I have. If I want to adjust this to my waist, all I need to do is to pull, you know, the shoelace a bit and then, you know, have this tied around my waist, okay? I absolutely love this trouser, like it looks so perfect. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, kindly give us a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, turn on the bell so you get updates when I post new videos, and I'll be seeing you in my next tutorial. Bye!